Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
But we begin with Mr. Cameron, and look, can I level with you for a minute? There's two things I want to tell you quickly, as if we weren't on the radio, as if you were just sitting next to me here in this empty room. When I take a bit of time off, I've been away for a fortnight. I won't mention that again. There's no reason why you should care particularly. I have a real crisis of confidence at about 9:30 in the morning. What the hell? What sort of job is this? What are you doing? You've got to go on air at 10 o'clock with your big I don't book any guests business and just start talking. Are you mad? I've been doing it for over a decade. Absolutely love it. I'm so nuts that halfway through a holiday, I even find myself beginning to think, I can't wait to get back. I want to talk about this, I want to talk about that. Drives my wife potty, as you can imagine. But what a strange way to earn a living this is. They're just sitting there half an hour ago going, what if nothing comes out of my mouth? Have I told you this before? Have I told you this when I've come back from a break in the past? I don't know if I have. You said, well, what if nothing happens? What if nothing comes out of my mouth? It'd be wonderful, some of you would say. It's very odd. That, and there's a 6-hour time difference between where I am now and where I was 24 hours ago. So I'm feeling a little bit discombobulated. I don't know if it qualifies as full-on jet lag. But what I'm mentioning this for is to encourage you to ring in as quickly as possible. Normal service has been resumed, but I don't know if I've got it in me to do one of my lengthy fulminations. We'll find out, shall we? It's 5 minutes after 10. You know the number, 0345 6060973. You'll only hear me say it if I have a phone line free. And I also have missed out, obviously not being immersed in the news agenda on a daily basis for the last couple of weeks. I've missed out on a lot of the coverage of this tax so-called scandal. Let me tell you what I understand the situation to be, and you can tell me whether or not I've got it right. As I understand it, David Cameron's dad, his late dad, and one's always a little uncomfortable about discussing people's dead fathers, unless, of course, you're the Daily Mail talking about Ed Miliband's. He dedicated much of his professional career to helping very wealthy people avoid the attention of the taxman in this country. Not illegally, but that's what these offshore trusts do, and that is where much of his fortune was derived. He left some of that fortune, some of which would inevitably have come from the sort of practices that he provided for others, to his son, one of 4 children, I think, David Cameron, to the tune of about £300,000. His big brother got the house. His big brother is a barrister, I think. He got the house. He got the family home, which would be worth a hell of a lot more than £300,000. And so his mum decided to give Dave and his 2 sisters another £200,000 from the money she'd inherited. Now, that money would become susceptible to inheritance tax if she were to pass away during the next 7 years. Is that right? Sadly, my parents' financial situation doesn't bear any relevance whatsoever to these sort of considerations, like 97% of the rest of the country. It's only 3% of estates that become eligible for inheritance tax, something that seems to be curiously missing from the right-wing coverage of the claim that they're constantly trying to take money away from you that you've already paid tax on. 3% of estates in this country are eligible for inheritance tax. So if you give the money to your children and then you pass away within a 7-year period, that money becomes eligible for the tax. So God forbid David Cameron should lose his mum, as well as having recently lost his father and a baby son, and a young son, of course. But if he were to, then the money she's left, I think, would be hit with about a 70%, a £70,000 tax. Am I still here? Am I still on it? I think. OK. Phone lines are open, 0345 6060973. I don't like the policies that his government have pursued with regard to austerity. I don't make no secret of that. I find it really difficult to know how you can sleep at night while taking money off people at the very bottom of the ladder and actually giving more money back to people at the very top. But that's not new. That's not something that's changed as a result of revelations regarding the Prime Minister's tax situation. And I also know that the usual cliches and the usual contempt in which some members of the media hold the British public will have been on full display over the last couple of weeks, even though I haven't seen it myself. myself. I presume people have been banging on about the politics of envy, being behind any criticism of rich people staying rich while pursuing policies that see poor people get poorer. Yeah, that's envy, absolutely. Oh, and if you've got a few quid and you also have a problem with policies that see rich people get rich while poor people get poorer, that's called champagne socialism. It's important to remember this. So if you don't like policies that see rich people get richer while poor people get poorer, and you haven't got any money, that's the politics of envy. And if you don't like policies that see rich people get richer while poor people get poorer, and you have got a few quid, you are, if you like, prepared to sacrifice some of your own financial security in order to improve the state of the nation, that's called champagne socialism. So I've been down this road before with you, but it's worth revisiting, I guess, because presumably this is what you've been inflicted. You've had inflicted upon you by the Mail and the Express and the Sun for the last couple of weeks. You're not allowed to criticise the status quo in any way. Okay, a status quo that sees the rich get richer under a Tory government and the poor get poorer, you are not allowed to criticise it in any way. Because if you criticise it from the position of not having much money, you're indulging in the politics of envy. And if you criticise it from the position of having a bit of money, you're indulging in champagne socialism. That leaves precisely nowhere you can sit as someone who genuinely, passionately and sincerely believes that we should probably be helping poor people get richer rather than helping rich people get richer. I kind of want to be angrier. I look constantly for ammunition to take aim at that status quo we've just described. I genuinely do. I despair almost daily at how easily we're encouraged to tug our forelocks and pretend that we benefit from a really unfair system. We don't. 97% of us don't. The massive majority of us don't. The massive majority of us get shafted by the way things currently work. Our children will be poorer than we were for the first time in living memory. They won't be able to afford homes. And then you look at the people who are so rich they can actually put money offshore and keep it away from the intention of the taxman, and you think this is just disgusting. This is absolutely disgusting. But David Cameron didn't do that. His money isn't offshore. If he's benefited from some of his father's money being offshore, then he'd flogged it all before he became Prime Minister. He'd got rid of all of it. You have to. You can't be Prime Minister and hold shares, because you could obviously increase the value of your shares by enacting policy. Then I tried on the way into work this morning. I tried to work out some things we could all agree on with regard to tax, okay? And I've only come up with two things. Every single penny you earn as a British citizen should come to the attention of the British Revenue and Customs. Every single penny of income you have should, the HMRC should know about it. That's why offshore is dodgy. That's why hiding money is dodgy. Not illegal necessarily, but dodgy. Every single penny you earn, whether you've earned it through work or whether you've earned it through investments, the taxman should know about. That doesn't, to me, seem to be controversial. And it's something that I think every politician should actually be able to prove. Whether that involves publishing their tax returns or not, I don't know. But if they've got money that they've hidden from the taxman, that compromises their ability to govern, in my view, or to provide meaningful opposition. And the second thing I came up with was the strange observation of when something becomes dodgy. It's not illegal, but it's dodgy. This is why David Cameron's biggest clanger, as far as I can tell, and again, I'm waiting for you to bring me up to speed with anything I might have missed, was describing Jimmy Carr's tax arrangements as immoral, because it doesn't seem to me that Jimmy Carr did anything that Mr. Cameron Sr. wasn't doing. And if he had a little bit more bottom, perhaps he'd say, yeah, what my dad did was immoral as well. Under the lens of scrutiny that I exposed Jimmy Carr to, I have to also say that my dad was immoral as well. But I couldn't do that. I lost my dad quite close in time to when David Cameron lost his, and even if it did emerge that he'd done something dodgy in his life, I'd find it very hard to stand up in public and say so, because I still love the bones off him, just as I'm sure David Cameron loves the bones off his dad, and just as I'm sure Ed Miliband loved the bones off his dead dad and felt horribly abused when the Daily Mail decided to accuse him of hating Britain. So what, in your words, and in your view, has the Prime Minister got wrong? Because catching up with the news a little bit behind the curve, certainly using social media as a brief window into what's going on in the world while you're on the other side of it, it's not very helpful. This hashtag Resign Cameron really baffled me. If you give me what I need, look, I'll be on my high horse by 11 o'clock, I promise you. If you give me what I need to join the clamour and the calls, do I think we need more regulation of offshore tax? Yeah, of course I do. Do I think hiding money from the British taxman is deeply dodgy? Yeah, of course I do. But do I think David Cameron has done anything actually wrong in a financial or even perhaps in a political sense? Well, no, I don't. No, I really don't. I'm sorry. I can tell already by the tweets coming in that a lot of you are expecting me to really start banging the drum on this one. But you need to tell me what drum I'm supposed to be banging. He inherited some money from his dad. His dad earned it, perhaps some of it, in a way that Mr. Cameron himself has historically claimed he didn't approve of. He's not going to give it back. And if he was going to give it back, who would he give it back to? And then his mum gave him some money from perhaps from his dad's estate as well, because she loves him and she wants him to have some of the money that his dad left. And she doesn't think he got left as much as perhaps he deserved, given that his brother got the house, his big brother got the house. Help me out here, seriously. 0345 6060973. Do I despise an ideology that sees people using food banks and being threatened with eviction from their council homes, while people in the highest earning brackets in this country have their lives made easier? Yes, I do. I despise it. I despise it. I despair of people who are getting punched and shafted on a daily basis by these ideologies and yet continue to tug their forelock because they've been successfully persuaded that while they see their own income go down and their children's chances of ever owning a home disappear, they've been successfully persuaded that they're somehow on the winning side. Back to Steinbeck. No such thing as poverty. Depression era in America, just temporarily frustrated millionaires. And some of you can ring me. They're temporarily frustrated millionaires who think this is all fine. You rich people should be able to do whatever the hell they want to hang on to as much money as possible. That's fine. But here you go. What exactly has David Cameron done that's wrong? 0345 6060973. With reference exclusively to this £500,000 that he's taken from his late father and his mother. Exclusively. What's David Cameron done wrong? In a broader context, bloody hell, we'd be here all day. But what's David Cameron done wrong exclusively with reference to this £500,000? I'll tell you what, I don't think he's done anything wrong. But I'd be happy to be disproved. Really happy.
I've been